Hi everyone, my name is Brian Matiash, and I'm the Curriculum and Education Manager here at On One Software. I'd like to welcome you back to episode number 2 of Perfect Inspiration. In the written part of this episode, I mentioned how important it is to make every moment count with your family and friends. Growing up, I've been photographing for almost 15 years, and I never really photographed people. And that's one thing if I was a portrait photographer, but I never really photographed my family or my friends, not so much as just, oh, hey, here I am, let me take a picture of you. And so it was really important for me going forward, especially after I moved over to the Northwest here in Portland, Oregon, that I value the time that I have with my family and my friends. So when my sister came to visit me shortly after I moved to Portland, it was really important for me to get some meaningful shots of her. And I'm not really a portrait photographer. I think that anyone who knows me knows that. In fact, I try to go to great lengths to avoid shooting people. But my sister was here, and we decided to go visit Seattle so that she can visit 2 of the major cities in the Pacific Northwest, with Portland and then Seattle, Washington. And it was nice because we got to act like tourists. Normally, we have people visiting us in New York City, and we'll take them up to the top of the Empire State Building. But here, we ended up visiting the top of the Seattle Space Needle. So it was important for me to try to get some candid shots of my sister. I really didn't want her to be posing, mostly because I'm not good with poses, and I prefer the look of the unsuspecting portrait model. So in this case here, my sister Greta was standing. I walked away from her, and then I kind of turned around, and I had my Canon 24 to 70 millimeter lens on my Canon 5D Mark II. It was zoomed all the way in at 70 millimeters, and I had it wide open at 2.8 for 2 primary reasons. First, I really wanted to separate my sister from the background. I did a good job over here, and on the left side, we still have a good amount of detail of the surrounding fence of the Space Needle. We'll be able to fix that later on in focal point, but for now, I know that I want my sister to pop off of the screen. The other reason why I shot at f2.8 is because it gave me a super fast shutter speed of 1/800th of a second at ISO 100, so I didn't have to worry about any softness. So this is really good. I'm really happy with this, except now it's time to start stylizing and correcting. So I'm going to do that by sending the image to the Perfect Photo Suite. To do that from Lightroom, just go to File, Plug in Extras, and then select Perfect Photo Suite. Now, the first thing that I want to do is I want to do some skin retouching. Not that my sister needs it. You don't need it, Greta, but what I want to make sure of is that it's as clean as possible. Also, I like using Perfect Portrait to pop the eyes and the mouth a lot, which it does a wonderful job at. So let's start by sending the image over to Perfect Portrait by clicking on Portrait from the module selector at the top. Okay, so here we are in Perfect Portrait, and you can see that we've successfully detected a face as indicated by the bracket around Greta's face. Now, the first thing that I do, this is without a doubt holds true anytime I do work with Perfect Portrait, is I like to set all of my settings to 0. Now, to do that, there are 2 ways to do it. First, we'll do the manual way. I'm going to start by taking my sliders here under the skin retouching palette and setting them to 0. Then I'm going to skip to the bottom. I'm going to take under the facial features and under the eyes, I'm going to bring the strength to 100, whitening to 0, and clarity to 0, and then repeat the process with the sliders for the mouth. We've now achieved a 0 baseline. You can see here that none of the correction was made to my sister's face. We can also save this as a preset now, and you can see if you go to the preset bar at the bottom and then go to the presets category, I have my Brian's portrait presets here. And there's my zeroed out preset. So if I ever double click this, it will automatically take care of resetting those sliders to 0. To save a preset, just go to the preset menu item and select Save Preset. And what that will do is it will take a snapshot of all of the settings that you have here in Perfect Portrait. Now I'm going to go ahead and close that preset bar to maximize screen real estate. And I'm going to go to View and then Fit to Face, which will zoom all the way in. First, I'm going to zoom out by 2 factors and have the face centered over here. I usually like to start off with the blemish brush, and it's important that you know your model. So let's say you were shooting someone and they had definitely they had a scar or they had some sort of blemish. that they knew about. It was not removable. I always find that the safest bet is to ask first before you start retouching. Ask, hey, do you want me to repair this? Do you want me to remove it? Do you want me to just make it gone? That way, you give them the option. It may be something that's part of their character, and by removing it, you're bringing it to even more attention. Here, my sister has beautiful skin, but I'm still going to go ahead and just kind of make it smooth by removing any sort of darker blemishes or beauty marks. I'm just going to kind of do it this way. I'm sure she won't mind. Now, one of the nice things about the blemish brush is that if you bring up the inspector and bring the brush opacity down to about 20%, it does a beautiful job of kind of smoothing out wrinkles or lines. And so I'm just going to paint it a few times on her skin, and especially under the eyes. This is where this low opacity blemish brush works wonders, is in that it kind of softens the skin and brightens the skin under the eyes without flattening it. Now that we're done, I'm going to close the retouch brush and I'm going to start refining the mask that was detected by Perfect Portrait, specifically detection of the skin, the eyes, and the mouth. And here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to go to the skin brush over here as indicated by that silhouette icon, and I'm going to bring the inspector back up and select overlay from my show mask dropdown. Now you can see that Perfect Portrait did a really nice job of detecting the skin, but it could use a little bit of help refining outside of it. So first thing I'm going to do is paint in the chin, make sure that I get that area there, and then I'm going to switch my painting mode from paint in to paint out and paint out this information over here. And what I'm doing is I'm just removing the hat because I don't want the hat to get corrected at all. I don't want any softening done to the hat. With that done, I'm going to switch straight to the eyes, and I'm going to help with the eyes. Because they were so small in the frame, what we want to do is we want to assist that automatic detection and then repeat the process with the mouth. Now with that done, I'm going to change my mask from overlay to none to return back to the original image. And now we can start retouching. I'm going to start by bringing the blemishes slider up about to 40%. And what it's doing here is it's actually healing the skin without removing pore structure. So if you look closely, you can still see that the skin has a natural textured surface. To complement that, I'm going to increase the smoothing slider a bit to add a nice healthy glow to the skin. I'm also going to, under the skin tune, drop down the warmth slider a bit to cool it off because I feel that the skin's a bit too warm. And then finally, under the eyes section, I'm going to bring the clarity up pretty high and then bring the whitening, and then the clarity up. The whitening will increase the brightness of the eyes and the clarity will actually increase sharpness. The mouth, if my sister was smiling and revealing her teeth, I would actually use the whitening slider. But because it's mostly just her lips, I'm just going to bring up the vibrance, which adds a nice saturated color boost to the lips. So you can see here, if we hit the Command P on a Mac or Control P on a PC, you can see the before and the after. Again, the thing about portrait retouching, as far as I'm concerned, is that it's more about subtlety. Subtle but effective. You don't really want to hit your viewers over the head with this clearly spackled plastic skin. You want it to just look naturally beautiful. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight from here over to Perfect Effects to begin stylization. And I can do that either by hitting Apply and returning to Perfect Layers, or I can just click on Effects straight away and get to it. Now comes the fun part. What I want to do is I want to stylize this image and make it memorable so that my sister, looks at it and loves it and wants to print it and have good memories of this time we had together. So I'm going to start first by going to the vintage category, and there's a great effect here that works very well with this image, and it's called Lomo Soft. I'm going to click it, and it's going to apply to the image. Now, the reason why I love it is because you get this really nice kind of soft vignette, and it makes the colors really creamy. I'm going to let it apply to the whole entire image, so I'm not going to mask it out, and I'm going to keep it at 100% strength, which is actually pretty atypical for me. I usually do some masking or I'll drop the strength down. But I'm going to hit Add to commit that effect and create a new layer. The next thing that I want to do is apply a texture. And so what I'll do is I'll go to the Textures category here, and one of my favorite textures that we have is called Rice Paper Light. I mean, this is such a versatile texture. It works beautifully. I'm going to go ahead, and you can see by default the texture has a border on it, which I don't want. So if I go to the scale slider here and stretch it out, what it does is it's essentially doing that. It's stretching the texture out so that the frame disappears. I'm going to drop the strength down a bit, and then I'm going to bring my masking brush up with the inspector and drop the brush opacity down to about 50% and just remove a little bit of it from her skin. I'll drop it even more and then remove a smaller factor of that. I want a little remnant of that texture on her skin. I'm going to click Add and start building on this now. If I go to the glow category, there's a great glow here that works called Hollywood Glow. So when I apply it, it applies again to the whole image. Now I want the glow to be removed from her face the same way that I removed the texture. So the quick and easy way to do that is to go to the layer that has the mask, then go to the masking menu and select Copy Mask. Now with the mask copied, I'll go to my Hollywood Glow layer, go to Masking and paste that mask. And what it does is it removes it from that area. Now I'm going to paint some back in because there's an uneven transition here. With the inspector up, I'm going to make sure I'm set to paint in. I'll bring the opacity up a bit and I'm going to drop the brush size and paint a little bit of that glow right here. Now I like the way the glow is appearing here. I'm going to drop that strength of the overall glow a little bit though, because it's a bit too strong for me. And so you can see we're not done yet, but I want to show you the before and the after. So if we hit Command P on a Mac or Control P on a PC, you can see the original and what we're getting at here. The last thing I'm going to do is hit Add, and I'm going to create a new black and white layer. I'm going to convert the image to black and white, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the contrast up a bit, and I'm going to start playing around with the color filter until it exposes for an area that I like, which is somewhere around here in the yellows because my sister's skin starts to glow. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the blending options up, and I'm going to see how it blends. I'm going to swing down to Screen, Multiply, Soft Light, and Hard Light. In this case, I really like how soft light appears, and I'm going to drop that strength down because I like how it adds a nice kind of contrasty punch to the image. Finally, when I hit Apply, I'm really happy with this, and so I'm going to go ahead and click on Focus. You remember at the beginning I said how I want my sister to really pop off the frame. We still have a lot of detail here which I want to minimize. So by clicking on Focus from the module selector, we can send the image over to focal point. Now we're in focal point, and you can see we've got our round bug. I'm going to put that over on my sister's face and then change the shape from round to planar. And this will give me now a vertical planar bug, which I'm actually going to keep vertical. The next thing I'm going to do is put the cursor inside the body of my bug because I want to tilt it. And I do that by pressing the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a PC until the units change. And I'm going to drag it over to the left here. I'm also going to drag it to the right to see the difference in blur. In this case, I do like it to the left here. So I'm going to drag it pretty drastically, and I'm going to bring it over more to the right and increase the span. Now, what I want to do is I want to drop that amount because it's a bit too much for me. But you can see now what I'm trying to do is match up the blur evenly throughout the frame so that my sister truly is popping off of the screen. To aid in that, I'm also going to drop the brightness of that background and boost the contrast. And then finally, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to apply a vignette. But first, I'm going to deselect the vignette follows focus bug so that the vignette burns the edges evenly. Let's drop that lightness a bit and boost the midpoint down towards the center. And so you can see now how attention really falls on my sister's face right away. Now that I'm done, I'm going to return to perfect layers by clicking on Apply from focal point. Alright, here we are back in perfect layers with our final image. But let's take a look at what we started with. If I press the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a PC while clicking on the Show Hide icon over here, it will hide all of the other layers, revealing only the one that you clicked. So here's our original image, and then we applied some skin retouching with Perfect Portrait. Then we stylized it with Perfect Effects, and then finally we drew the eye straight to my sister's face by blurring out the edges with focal point. When I click Save, I'll return back to Lightroom with my updated PSD file. So here we are in Lightroom. We have our original image and our refined image over here. I'm going to go to the Develop module and just stylize a tiny bit. I'm going to start by bringing up the clarity just a tiny bit and then bring up the contrast a little bit. The next thing I'm going to do is create a custom adjustment brush here where the exposure is brought up a bit so it brightens, and I'm going to drop the clarity down. so it'll soften. And I'm going to paint on my sister's face. Again, it's all about bringing her face out right away. Finally, I'm going to create a graduated filter by clicking on the icon over here next to the adjustment brush, and I'm going to select exposure. I'm going to drop that exposure down. Oh, it's already down a little bit. And I'm going to drag from the left all the way to the right. Now with that done, I'm going to drop it a bit more. And what I'm hoping to do is aid the eye to kind of focus over here by darkening this area. I'm going to click on New to create another one and do the same thing from the right, stopping right around there so that none of the transition is falling on my sister's face. Again, let's press H to hide those. And then if you hit the backslash key, which is right above the return key, you can see the original image before the Lightroom adjustments, and then the after image. And now we've achieved a really memorable image that I'm sure my sister is going to be excited about. Thanks a lot.